So what makes up the fabric of a community? Whether neighborhood, town, large city, or suburb. The fabric of a community is woven into existence by the people who live there. Communities come in all locations, sizes, ethnicities, and cultural heritages. The fabric of each community is unique and diverse.
We're located in San Francisco Chinatown, home to one of the largest populations of Chinese residents in the country. And in San Francisco Chinatown, many of the seniors live by themselves, and they only speak Cantonese, which is why it's important for us to work with this community.
Our community here in the Fort Lauderdale area is very diverse, multicultural. Creole, Spanish area.
A block away from where we live is a wonderful little Turkish grocery store, and a mile away from us is a really nice large Korean grocery.
While each community is distinctly different in so many ways, communities also have groups of people in common. From schools, churches, civic and charitable organizations, to recreational and social entities, businesses, and government agencies. Many of these groups have formed partnerships, since working together in a crisis is far more effective than working alone. When a disaster tears the fabric of a community, people depend on the teamwork and resources these partnerships bring to bear.
Responding to a disaster is a huge task for a local government and for different volunteer agencies. So it's always important to be looking out for new partners that can help you with the task.
We are part of a community. There is no one agency, no matter how proficient, no matter how large, they can provide all the services that are needed in an emergency.
When there's a hurricane approaching or a tragedy approaching, we're the closest shelter to the Keys and also to Homestead and South Dade. And the people are afraid when there's a hurricane approaching, especially any category today. So they come to the shelter seeking protection, and this is why we're always filled here at Robert Morgan.
Emergency responders such as police and fire and rescue provide life-saving services immediately following a disaster. Then, the Red Cross and other public, private, and nonprofit organizations provide further assistance.
In terms of disaster response, we currently have 31 case managers that are trained specifically in disaster case management. They're currently working in the Gulf Coast to assist with the recovery efforts in Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi. If another disaster were to come, we would be able to deploy these case managers to the new location since they are already trained. They can help identify cultural leaders within the community where an Asian population may have been affected by a disaster.
I was a part of the AmeriCorps NPRC, National Preparedness and Response Corps, with the Red Cross this past year. And it was a great experience. I was able to go out into the field and work a disaster relief assignment.
When disaster strikes, people's first reaction is to reach out to resources they know and trust.
The community as a whole really opened its arms to help us with our shelter and other shelters as well, not just the one at our church, but the community as a whole, from young, old, all racial, ethnic backgrounds, retired, active, it did not matter.
After organizations in a community respond to a disaster, they must recover from it, which often means restoring and rebuilding from single-family homes to whole infrastructures.
When Katrina hit, about 40,000 Vietnamese Americans were affected throughout the communities in the Gulf Coast. And the majority of them ended up evacuating to Houston, Texas. And rather than going to the mega shelters and to the George R. Brown Convention Center, they ended up at the Hong Kong City 4 Mall, which sounds a little strange, but it's the hub of Vietnamese and Asian life in Houston. And because BPSOS has a branch office located directly inside the mall, we ended up serving as a de facto disaster relief and recovery center for those individuals that were not able to seek refuge or were afraid to seek refuge and assistance from other sources.
Volunteer Fairfax, after the last flood, was very involved in cleaning up people's houses directly. They went into the basements and actually helped get mud out and take down drywall and do all these things that It's way outside the scope of the Red Cross, but absolutely essential for the people that are trying to fix their homes. The rule of thumb I heard is it takes about 10 times longer for the relief than for the immediate response, and it takes about 10 times longer for the recovery than the relief.
Understanding the makeup of your community enables you to build relationships that provide the resources and services needed when disaster strikes.
We partner greatly with the First Baptist Church during our Wilma disaster, and we saw that volunteers from all around the country and locally, and even the members of the church, came together for one purpose, and that purpose was to serve the community.